So someone comes to you and he says, I do not know exactly what I want, but I don't like what I have. All right, let him tell you what he has. Well, you wouldn't like it either. If you listen carefully, no, I wouldn't like that either. Well, let us reason together. What would you like? Would you like this? Would you like that? And then he comes upon something he would like. Well then, if you are a friend of his, you create a state to deliver your friend from his former state. And so you see him in that state. Well, how do you do it? Bring before your mind's eye your friend. And have your friend with a nice big smile on his face. And have him actually thanking you for what you did for him. Now, the thing has happened yet, but you go beyond the present moment. And you are appropriating now subjectively the objective hope. You hope he will stand before you objectively with a smile on his face, and you hope you're going to hear his words. And the word you're going to hear is, oh, thank you so much. It worked just like a charm. When I saw you the last time, I was up against it. Today, it's simply rolling and rolling in my direction. Everything is perfect. That's what you want to hear for a friend. Well, now you hear that. So if you're hearing that, you move him out of his former state into the state that you have now created for him. Do this, and you cannot fail. So prayer is not petition. Prayer is giving thanks. You don't get on your knees and petition any being outside of yourself. There is no intermediary between yourself and self. You need no priest. You need no so-called healer. You need nothing on the outside. It's all within self. What would the feeling be like if it were true? With that, I catch that feeling, and then I work myself into that state. What would it be like? All right, I know what it would be like. Well, feel it, and keep on feeling it, and keep on feeling it, until all of a sudden you're relieved. There's a release within you, and then it's done. You can't do it a second time. It's done. So I say, I'm looking at the world from a spot. At every moment in time, I'm always viewing the world from a place. That place could be from a financial position in my world. It could be from a physical position in my world. It could be, you name it. I'm looking from a certain state. And I'm seeing confirmation of that state by what I am seeing. Now, how will I know that I have moved? Well, it's a very simple test to know that I have moved. Unless there is a fixed frame of reference, no one will know that something moved. If I started moving from here to the end of the room, and everything started moving with me at the same time, I have no reference to prove that I have moved. Motion can be detected only by a change of position relative to a fixed object. It must be fixed relative to me, that I may know that I have moved. But all my friends know where I am, who I am, what I am. If I desire a change, my friends, my fixed reference, they should know it. So I don't ask anything of them. I simply assume that I have changed. But if I have changed, then I have a fixed reference, the faces of my friends. Now let me conjure them in my face, in my mind's eye, and let me look at them. Do they see me as a changed person? Or are they still seeing the one who would like to be changed? Are they congratulating me on my change? Well, then I've changed. I saw it reflected in their faces. I heard it in their voices. I saw a change on their faces, which change revealed to me that they noticed in me a change. And that's what I want. Now, that proved that I moved. Nobody saw me move physically. I'm still seated in the same chair, but I moved. And so the whole thing is based upon motion. It's a psychological motion. We're living in a world of imagination. And this whole vast outpictured world was first imagined. There is the thing you see here that wasn't first imagined. And yet, close as he is, you still can't find him. Why? Why can't I find him as something objective? Because he is the reality I call imagination. I see the fruits of my imaginal acts, but I do not see the actor as I see the outpouring of his activity. For he is the reality I call imagination. So here, the God in you is your own wonderful human imagination. That is God. That's the one, when you completely awaken, you're going to know. That's what man basically is hungering for, the awakening of imagination, which is the awakening of God within him. That is the only God of which the Bible speaks. There is no other God. But no limit upon the power of belief. Can you believe that he doesn't have that pressure on him anymore, that he's above it, that is something behind him? Well, put him in that state. It doesn't cost you any more to put him in that state than to put him in a little modified state. You didn't pay anything for it. Come, eat and drink without price. Buy wine, buy milk without money. It didn't cost you a penny to do it, so why modify it? Why make it little for it? It's not exactly what he would want for himself. It's better than what he has. But you want something bigger than that for him. And there is no limit. When you meet people of great wealth in this world, and you'll judge them because they have money, just talk to them for a little while. Money hasn't altered their other states. They're just as stupid as they were before. In fact, I've gone to parties where this one was a millionaire, that's a millionaire, that's so-and-so, and then the lady would point out another one. So you see that one? Oh, she's not just rich, she's stinking rich. In her language, that meant multiple millions. And if you walk out of that place, I'm speaking of a club, I will not mention the name, a club in New York City, a ladies' club. They're all multimillionaires. Walk out on the street, but don't leave, just walk out and stay there. And then watch them come out after their big heavy lunches and their 3 or 4 martinis or whatever it is, and watch them. And if you didn't know these are members of that club with all the millions in the world, you would say to yourself, poor souls. Poor souls. You would think maybe they came out, they're cleaning up after the guests left. That's exactly what they look like. But they feel they don't have to put on anything because they're above it all. May I tell you, if anyone introduces you to a person as a very holy man, turn and run. They'll fleece you. And I'm not fooling. They come over here from India, and all, you see them on the TV. Next thing you know, they're getting $500 for a special course. And people who have more money than brains, they pay all. Then off to India he goes with his multiple fortunes that he's simply taken from those who aren't given to thinking. So money doesn't care who owns it. So they have it, and so they'll give it out to anyone who is called a holy man. Well, I have had my experience with these so-called holy men. One little fellow, you all know him, you saw him on TV. And some reporter asked him, why do you advertise so much? You're always advertising, building up your own little personality. And Jesus never did. And in the little high-pitched voice of his, he started laughing. He said, that's why it took him so long. Well, I mean, after all, you sit down in your living room and you turn your little set on to listen to that nonsense. But people do it, and they paid him for it. Now here, may I tell you, you have everything that it takes to be the man, to be the woman that you want to be. Don't pass them up. You have it right here this very night. Know what you want to be. Be definite. When you know exactly what you want to be, don't ask anyone if it's possible. You simply feel that you are it. What would the feeling be like if it were true? Would my wife, my husband, my friends know it? Let them know it, not verbally. Let them know it all in your imagination. Let them see you as they would have to see you if it were true. Just let them see you. And go to sleep in that assumption. For I know from my own experience that an assumption, though denied by my senses and therefore called by the world false, if persisted in, will harden into facts. That I do know. An assumption, the same simple little assumption. If you will persist in it, it will harden into fact. That is a law. How else would you interpret this statement from the 11th chapter of the book of Mark? Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and you will. No limit is placed upon the power of belief. It doesn't even say it has to be good for you. It leaves you entirely free to make your choice and take the risk. Because when you reap that state, you're also going to reap the consequences of that state. So, take your choice, but also be willing to take the consequences of the state. And you could go through life just simply knowing there are only states. You see a person in the gutter today, he need not be in the gutter forever. Take him out of the gutter in your mind's eye. Here was a friend of mine, Freedom Barry, that I sent to San Francisco to teach this law. He hasn't had the experience of the promise, so he can't teach the promise. But he teaches the law. Before he opened, he saw a man crossing the street while he was airing his little dog. The man came over. First of all, he passed nice complimentary thoughts about the dog, which Freedom enjoyed. And then he said, could you let me have a little money? And Freedom said, I'm sorry, but I do not have any money. The man was very nice about it, a gentleman evidently, and he went his way, and Freedom, before he made one step, he remained right there on that sidewalk and saw that man gainfully employed. He said to Freedom he hadn't worked. He was out of work. And Freedom saw him gainfully employed and felt the thrill of his employment. A month later, Freedom is out walking the little dog, and this man crosses the street, comes over to Freedom, and he said, I don't suppose you remember me. And Freedom said, oh, yes, I do. Very well. He said, well, I want to thank you for not giving me money 1 month ago when I asked you. Had you given it to me, I'd be asking you for money today. But I got so mad with myself to be placed in that position to ask a total stranger for money, I went home determined I am going to get a job. He didn't know what Freedom had done, but Freedom did that, which pushed him out of that state of asking for money into a state of earning it. He went out the very next day after he met Freedom and got himself a job that paid well. He said, I'm on the job that I got the day after I asked you for money. I'm still on it, and there is room for growth in that job, and I'm sticking with the job. So again, thank you for not giving me the money. If Freedom had done what most people would do, would have walked away and said, no, I don't have any money for you, or I don't have money, without explaining why. But Freedom did something about it. He put the man in an entirely different state. And having put him in a different state, the man got a job the very next day. So I say to anyone, you can try it. Don't pass the buck and help everyone in this world. You create states to deliver individuals evermore. These are states that you create, and you can drop them. But the other states of which I spoke earlier, the spiritual states of the soul, are forever, and no one's going to change them. So tonight, as you leave here, go out knowing you have the power and the right to become the man, to become the woman that you want to be, without hurting any person in this world. You don't need to hurt anyone to gain anything in this world. You go out and play your part fully. And let no one pull any rank, for all ranks are only states of consciousness. The king and the one who is amusing him, the court jester, are both played by the same being, and that being is unseen by the two masks, the mask of the king and the mask of the court jester. For behind the mask is God, and God is simply I am. So one plays the part of the court jester, and one plays the part of the king, and we honor the mask and bow before the king. And that court jester may be nearer to apostleship. Do not judge from appearances, as you're told.
To support us, like the video and subscribe the channel Rumi Safi Mystic.